Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. Happy spring down in Oz.
Yes. Yes.
And in Chile.
And Chile. Yes, that's right. Is it feeling spring-like where you are, Vicky?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost over the winter. Sometimes it's cold, but it's really sunny. And we love this time of the year because it's our national holidays. So it's a great time to be in Chile.
Is it like the independence or founding of the nation, or what is it?
Yeah, it's the celebration of the first board of government.
Okay.
Not the Independence Day,
Yeah.
but the day that meeting took place.
I see.
The first board. Yeah.
And what year was that? Would that have been?
1810.
1810.
Yeah. Wow. Like many other Latin countries.
Mm-hmm.
Many countries celebrate their national day because they had the
Makes me think of our recent feature on the First Continental Congress.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 1774. So really, I mean, that was only, what, 34 years later?
Yep, 35. Yeah.
30, yeah, 30, yeah, okay. But
I'm rounding math. I really can't do math, Greg.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's wow. So yeah, Canada is young compared to that, because it wasn't until 1867 that we became a country. Yeah, just a baby country. But anyways, we got lots of people here. Audrey is here, Amanda, and Fiordalisi, Ozzy M, of course, with a hard Z sound. Megs is going to join us at some point. She's doing a presentation on WikiTree, so she can't be here doing this presentation on WikiTree, but we'll look forward to seeing Megs and anyone else who's in the room with her when she goes live, where she turns on YouTube to show them something else about what's going on. Mohadlin's here, Katie Miller, and John Tyner, and someone's birthday. Snap. And my birthday also on the 19th. Okay, so his birthday's coming up, it looks like.
It's Thursday.
Yeah. That's great. Awen's here, our Forstelf. Hello.
Hi.
And Mary Sleppy's here. Hey, Mary. And how we got here? That'd be Brian. And let's see, Yoke, Chris Wine, Lisa Gervais. Hey there, Lisa. Oh, there's Megs waving at us. Yolo, and Filter Arania. So I think I got everyone who's already said hi, but hello to those who are watching after the fact and watching the recording. And we are going to do things all topsy-turvy today. We're switching the order all around, and we're going to start with Betsy.
Okay. And I don't think we've ever done this. We're going to do Celebrate Your Ancestor right at the top.
Yes.
Yep. So here we go. Add to stage. And okay. So first of all, I'd like to say, so we just had one person write in about their September ancestors, Paula Franklin, whose birthday is today.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, Paula. I love it when it actually falls on a Saturday, whatever the date is. And she, like Anne, we featured Anne's Fiordalisi's answer last week, and similar to Anne, Paula says she has many people in her family, extended family, who are born or married in September. In particular, she directed us to the profile of her mother, who died September 7th at the very young age of 60. Sadly, she was a smoker, and it was lung cancer, but I have a very nice picture there of Paula's mother. And then she also wanted to highlight her paternal grandmother, Barbara Trotter Brewer. And she was born September 11th, so her birthday just passed. Born and lived and died in Tennessee. And she was born in 1885. And she and her siblings, sadly, were orphaned when when Barbara was 11. She went on to be a teacher, and then she married, and she and her husband, Paula's grandparents, had 9 children, and Paula said that they were wonderful examples for their children and grandchildren. So thank you so much for sharing your grandmother and your mother with us, Paula. Now the photos for the week, the photo theme for the month is portraits. And actually, we don't have any new portraits to look at.
Oh, no.
No, I know. So we've got half of the month left to go. So not too late. Go ahead and post those photos. What I did was I have a portrait. This is my maternal grandmother, Margaret McMurray. And this photo, I have vivid memories of this photo because my mother had a big framed version of it out in the living room. She always told me that it was an engagement photo. But my aunt told me that it was taken right before she and her mother took a trip to England. And so it was for the passport. And she also said that somewhere there was a photo of the two of them, from the same session. And of course, she's got this really distinctive dress on. So I'm hoping someday that we find that photo of the two of them. And that leads us into our question of the week, because the same grandmother was a nurse.
Oh, nice.
And that is how she met my grandfather. You can see there's a baby. They've just delivered a baby.
Nice.
Yeah. So question of the week was, do you have any nurses in your family tree? And we had 163 answers. Many nurses. So first off was from George Sutton, who said, my maternal grandmother, Eleanor Sherman, who was 1909 to 1996. She trained to be a nurse in Riverside, California around 1930. And I believe she worked at the Old County General in Los Angeles. And thank you to everybody who put photos along with their posts. I mean, of course, it's not necessary, but it always just brings people to life. And I just love seeing the variety in nurses' uniforms between country, time. So it's very interesting. Let's see. Kay Smith writes, as of 49 years of age, my brother gave up trucking and went back to school. Equipped with a GED, he finished his nursing degree and has been an RN for about 12 years now.
Wow.
Fantastic. That's tough to go back to school.
Well, it is, but what a career shift from trucking to nursing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have to wonder if there was some trigger that inspired him. You know?
Yeah.
Wonderful. This photo is from Allie Ruff. And this is Allie's great-grandmother, who also was in California, trained at Pasadena Hospital in 1908, and then became an advocate for children and needy families. Gorgeous photo. Brenda Millage says, my step-great-grandmother was a nurse, and that is how she met my widowed great-grandfather while he was in the hospital for weeks with pneumonia. There were a lot of stories like that. Like, the spouse was a patient, or the spouse was a doctor, or something like that. And Nancy Thomas says, my second great-grandmother, Mary Teresa Swanner Gabler Goldschmidt, was a midwife that delivered over 3,000 babies in Baltimore, Maryland. Whew. I didn't know that when I entered nursing school and became a registered nurse in 1974. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, over 3,000.
That's amazing.
I know.
Wow. That'd be a cool category to tag in WikiTree. Delivered by.
Yes.
By another WikiTree.
And I don't know if a couple more on this page. Crystal Flowers says, yes, I am a nurse. There's a lot, you could see a lot of multi-generation nurses.
Yeah.
I'm a nurse, and my great-grandmother, Laureen Hufstutler, was a nurse. I am so very fortunate to have in my possession her nurse's handbook. That is truly special. Yeah. And next page. Lisa Baker says, here's another three generations.
Mhm.
Myself, my daughter, and my granddaughter are all registered.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Charlotte Vardy says, many nurses in the family tree, including myself and my grandmother, Winifred Warren Nichols, who was a midwife. She had a very rewarding career in general nursing, infection control, labor and delivery supervisor, and nursing instructor. And Charlotte said she retired a few years before COVID, and she's glad because the profession has become so much more stressful during and after. Absolutely. Adrian Kirky says, I have been a nurse for over 45 years. My maternal grandmother's sister-in-law was a military nurse, and she met her husband, my great-uncle Walt, when he was in the military hospital during World War II. And then I was very interested when people went beyond just saying, their ancestor was just a nurse to say, I mean, there's so many areas of specialization. So John wrote, my daughter's an RN specializing in the outpatient needs of recently hospitalized seniors. And my son is an LPN employed by the VA in a unit that deals with veterans' recidivist health issues. Tracy says, my mother was a nurse, so was her mother, some cousins too. I wanted to be one, but it's a bit hard when you have asthma, which is, I looked it up, it's when you can't smell.
Oh.
Which, I thought about it, and that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
And she said, my mother started nursing to fill, I think we're missing a sentence, maybe to fill in something about she would be old enough to join the police. She ended up loving it and so carried on with it. Even better when married women could be a nurse, and she was able to go back to nursing after her children were born.
Oh, wow.
So it really is was a unique career in that way. Danielle Down says, yes, a great aunt, Annie Jane Newman, on my maternal grandmother's side was a registered nurse, and another great aunt on my father's side, Ethel Olive West, who attended nursing training at King's College Hospital in London, served as a staff nurse with Queen Alexandra's Imperial Territorial Military Nursing Service. I hope they have an acronym for that.
Wow, yes.
During World War I from 1918 to 1919, and then she emigrated to New York in 1926. C. Ping says, my mother and her sister both became nurses through the Army Nurse Corps program in World War II. I think it would be great to have an Army Nurse Cadets project. Oh, that's a great idea. Well, see, maybe you could just put out a G2G post. Judging from the response to this post, I think you might get a lot of participation. But it's talking about how her mother's classmates kept in touch, and there were other responses along the same line of the the bonds and that persisted throughout the years. She said she found a copy on Ancestry of their enrollment cards, which sometimes included parents' names, which helped to identify them.
Nice.
Yeah. Milana says two of my father's sisters and my husband's sister is a FNP. I'm not sure what F stands for. The older sister had to sneak out of the house to go to night school. Her mother had recently passed, and there were 3 younger siblings to raise. The second one was allowed to study and was a nighttime NICU nurse for 40 years or more. Last one for this page. Emily Yadin says, my great-grandmother was a nurse. She grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania. The story goes that she didn't tell anyone she was even going to apply for nursing school until she was accepted and about to go. She didn't want to be told what to do with her life. And then she got married, had children. They moved to Detroit, and when she went back to nursing part-time, working the night shift. And when Emily's grandmother was in the hospital for a tonsillectomy, her mother, who was a nurse, was able to go and visit her and be transferred to the children's floor to see her own daughter. And she fed the children their bedtime snack of Verner's and milk. So I had to look up Verner's. It's a ginger drink.
Ah, nice.
That sounds like a good
Cool.
snack.
Yeah. And then Quilter decoded FNP for us. It's a family nurse practitioner.
Ah, thank you. Okay, that makes sense.
And what is an LNP?
Licensed nurse practitioner.
Licensed? Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then on this page, Patricia Walker says, my husband, Anthony Walker, is a nurse and had a long-standing career at Johns Hopkins, which is one of the top-ranked hospitals in the nation. His mother and sisters were also nurses. Jay Chickless says, my grandmother, Elizabeth Sadokes, I don't know if anyone else can help with pronouncing that. Sadokes Mason.
Yeah.
And her sister Maud were two of the first Native American RNs. Maud became a nun in the Episcopal Church, believed to be the very first Native American to be a nun in that church, taking the name Sister Benedicta when she joined the church. She received her RN about 1914 and for a time ran the nurses training school at St. Mary's Hospital for Children in New York. Very distinguished careers and in both public and private sector nursing. It says one of her first private duty cases was working for the artist Abbott Henderson Thayer. And she also traveled to Bermuda with another of her private duty patients. Yeah, so
wow,
it's an exciting resume there.
Very interesting.
Yeah, Janice Webster. Yeah, Vicki.
No, sorry, I was reading. Or Lisa was a nurse aide in an old age home during university.
Oh, was that one of the posts?
No, just a comment in the
chat.
chat.
Comment in the chat. Got it.
Yeah. There's a few others who have mentioned as well their nursing connections. So
yeah, no, definitely. If you missed posting something, tell us in the chat. Yeah. Janice says, many nurses. My earliest record is that of my second great grandfather, who was a nurse hospital attendant in the Union Army during the American Civil War. He was stationed at City Point, Virginia, and claimed to have shaken hands with Abraham Lincoln while there.
Wow. I misheard you. I thought you said my earliest memory, and I thought, wow, she remembers her second great grandfather. But it was the earliest record.
Yes. All right, and my final page. Let's see. We have a really nice photo here.
Nice.
This is Chris Orm. Writes, my grandmother, Gladys Wilson, who's the bottom right, so this lady here, was a nurse. Again, very interesting uniforms. And her grandmother lived 1895 to 1981. And then we have.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So I'll tell you at the bottom who posted this. But her mother, my mother, was a Roth Rothschild Van Dusen, was a nurse cadet in World War II, and later was an emergency room nurse for 36 years.
Wow.
Gorgeous photo.
Yeah.
And then her mother, Cornelia Sippel Rothschild, was recruited off the farm at 16 by a horse and buggy doctor.
No way.
Yeah, to train at his newly established hospital in Kansas. She was a private duty nurse in Chicago, when she met her future husband when caring for his mother. And there she is.
Wow.
And Barbara Butler.
Barbara Butler.
Then my other grandmother was a nurse who said she'd never marry a doctor, but then she fell in love with a doctor. and her daughter was also a nurse who married a doctor, and their daughter became a doctor as well. So yeah, medicine really does go. I know from personal experience. I think this might be my last one. No, second to last. Becky Marlowe says 2 of my paternal aunts were nurses. My mother wanted to be a nurse, but she graduated at age 16. So basically what happened was that her mother went to school early at 4 with her older sister because the older sister didn't want to go by herself.
Oh, wow.
So she was just ahead the whole time. And then by the time she wanted to go to nursing school, the sisters who ran the Catholic hospital said, "You're too young." So then she followed the same sister along to teaching college. She hated teaching and quit after a few years. And then she worked at the natural gas company. And then a few years after getting married and having children, her husband became ill with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And she was his nurse for 25 years and kept him at home until the last few months of his life. Most of her skill was common sense and the things she was taught by the doctors and nurses that helped care for him occasionally. And this must be my last one. Valerie McMartin says, direct ancestors, not that I know of, but my great aunt Carolyn was a nurse. She was the youngest in the family. So when her parents divorced, her older sisters got married. Everybody did their thing. And she got married. She paid for her lodging by taking care of the kids of a doctor. Then after graduating high school, she went into nursing. And married. Her second husband was a doctor she worked with. I noticed this one. I was talking about the network of nursing, and she said, I don't know if she worked as a nurse in Vietnam, but when her nephew, my uncle, was shot in Vietnam, he was teased for having so many nurses checking in on him.
Yes.
His aunt asked nurses that she knew, and in some cases trained to make sure that he was doing okay and getting proper care. They also told her more about his case than what the military was telling his parents. So,
yep. There we go.
So that, I believe, is
yours.
Vicki, over to you.
Yeah. Okay. So just before Vicki, there's a couple of people who have. Amy has said medicine's in her family's blood. Her great grandma was a midwife. Her grandmother was an RN. Her cousins are nurses, doctors, and paramedics, and she herself is a medical officer administrator by training. And then she just remembered after. And then she listed a few more relatives who are also in the medicine. And interesting, Ozzy said that she was a nurse's aide. My ex-mother-in-law and her sister were both RNs. And there was something that you had mentioned about someone being able to become a nurse after having children. And,
yes, or being able to return to work.
Yeah. And she said that she wasn't allowed to go for her RN because she was married.
Oh my
goodness. That was an issue. Apparently nurses had to be single at one point back in time in some places. Who knew? I didn't know that.
Me neither.
Wow. Oh, sorry for them. I think it may be hard because nurses have to work
night shifts,
all hours, right?
Yes.
So it's difficult for moms. Well, I just read some of our WikiTreeers who are or were nurses. So Martha Kitchens, she is a retired nurse practitioner. Mary Ann Thomas was an army nurse. And Laura Stephens, we're sorry we don't see the picture, but is Clark Stephens' father. He was a nurse. Phil Grove's mother was a nurse. Sigrid Olson, great aunt of Jill Foster. My daughter, Lynn Fonseca, says, my daughter is a labor and delivery nurse, and her great aunt, Frances Lotz Schwerin, was among 4 nurses who saved patients from a general hospital in San Francisco that burned to the ground. Wow.
Ooh.
That's awesome. And this is how I knew it was his father, Clark Stevens, because he posted again. His father, Lura, served in the USMC. What is the USMC? What is the MC? United States?
Is that the medical
U.S. Marine Corps
Corps?
or Medical Corps?
Oh, thank you. I think Marine would be?
Or
I don't
or Medical Corps would make more sense in this context, I think.
know. Okay. Yeah, during World War II. And in Okinawa, wow. Catherine's mother started out as a retired nurse in pediatrics. And I wanted to show you this photo. This was shared by our Alexis Nelson, one of her great photos. And her great aunt, Gwen Lovelace, is this lady here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think, yeah, she said she's the third from the left. Oh, no, to the left. I'm sorry.
Left.
This one.
Oh,
it's so tricky when you have large group photos that are not family photos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say hi to South Carolina.
Hi, South Carolina.
Mags is showing us off to the presentation she's doing. Hello.
Oh.
Welcome to WikiTree.
Hi, Max. We miss you. Oh, and I highlighted this one from Euge Calderón Benítez because she's Argentinian. So I said, okay, I'm reading her. Her mother, Aurora, was a nurse, and she studied at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba, but she never worked as a nurse. Oh, okay. Rita Kidd, she says her great aunt was a nurse. And Frank Walsh, great grandmother, Joanna Quinn Walsh, was a nurse at St. John's Hospital. Wow. Next one I selected was Jill Mills, says her sister, her daughter, and a granddaughter, and a grandson, plus a son who is a paramedic. So all her family are nurses. And then I selected this photo, but you already showed her.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it looks. Wait a minute.
It's the same photo.
It is,
but the one you showed.
Well,
so.
Mine is of Edna Ruff.
So they have a common ancestor. She says is her 15th cousin.
15th cousin.
Oh, wow. Connection.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Wow. Look at your DNA if you have some. Oh, well, and this is the last one I wanted to share because, we have so many interesting posts. And this takes me to the thing of common ancestors. I was wondering, Betsy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we share, for instance, for portraits, this week's theme for the
this
photo?
month's theme, yeah.
This month. Yeah. Is it okay if I share a portrait of someone who is not my direct ancestor, but a distant ancestor?
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
I was wondering, and I wanted to show you this portrait.
I'm so glad you're sharing.
Wow.
Who is
that? I didn't hear you. But...
Yeah, sorry. Who is that? Tell us about this person.
Okay. Carmen Alfreda. She was born Prout, but she married a guy named Evans. This is Roberta Graham, I think it's her grandmother or great grandmother. No, her grandmother. This is Roberta Graham's grandmother, Carmen Alfreda, And Carmen Alfreda's, I guess, grandmother's was of Chilean origin. Okay. And she has this beautiful portrait. She was a pilot. I can't read. She and her husband were both air raid wardens in London during the Blitz of World War II. And Roberta, who is the profile manager, wrote to me. She lives in South Africa, in Cape Town.
Oh.
And she hasn't taken a DNA test, but we would surely be a match. And she's really into this Chilean origin, and she learned Spanish since she was a young lady. And we talked about our common ancestors. She's really interested in getting to know their history, and she's coming to Chile. So I will meet Roberta.
Excellent.
Wow. Yeah, that's excellent.
And did you connect through WikiTree through this profile?
She found me. Yeah, we had some interaction.
Yeah.
Merging some profiles. That's
I see.
how we knew we were connected, but we didn't talk. And she didn't write to me until she knew she was coming to Chile. So she wanted to I don't know, get some tips.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, let's meet if you have the time. So we have our own WikiTree meeting.
Definitely take a photo so you can share that. That's so cool.
Yeah, sure.
That's very cool.
That's it. That was my profile. Do you want me to show you the profile makeover?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's go.
Since you've got the talking stick, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I interrupting someone?
No.
Oh, no? Is it okay? Okay. Since we changed all the order. Well, the profile makeover challenge for September already has like 10 participants. Makes me really happy. I don't know. I'm suspecting maybe Betsy's sending her nudes to the challenge. And that's awesome.
And I myself usually sneak in the end of the month and
you always do. Yeah. Yeah. And I do too. I'm really late this month, but I will. And today I wanted to share you this profile. Elaine, I don't know if it's right. How would you pronounce her name? Elaine?
Elaine, yeah.
Like
I
Elaine,
think so. Can you make it a little bigger?
With the Y in between.
Yeah, I haven't seen that spelling.
Yeah.
Elaine.
It's like Elaine.
Elaine?
Elaine,
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, she made the profile, the makeover for her great grandfather John Cardwell, and John Cardwell's profile seemed to be really complete at the beginning. This is the before photo.
Yeah.
She had just a one-line biography, but had a lot of info.
Yeah.
But not in a standard way. She had some sources, but in her own words, it was a terrible mess. And she wanted to make up for it. So you don't need to have an empty profile to do the makeover. You could simply improve an existing profile. So
right, because I mean the info was there, but it wasn't told as a story. So.
Yeah, and it wasn't standard. So it maybe triggered some suggestions from the doctor's suggestions. So John had quite a life. If you read it, it's really interesting. He was born in Belfast, Ireland, and John had three younger siblings, and his father died when he was like 11. Sometime they settled in Scotland, the mother and the three siblings. I guess the older sister died at young age because they didn't move with her, and he married in 1903, and he had 6 daughters. Sorry, he had 6 little daughters before he went to war. And the last daughter, Catherine Fulton, was born in 1914 when the war began. And she lived till 103 years.
Wow.
Oh,
And we have a list of occupations. He was a coal porter, a laborer, then a laborer again, a coal salesman, and then he was, in 1910, he's listed as a hydraulic capstan man. Do you know what that is? Because I had to look for it.
Is the caption the thing that goes on the end of, or I don't know. Is it it's the guy who pushes?
Yeah, I'm sharing a picture of what a capstan man would do. There you go. So the capstan is this part of a ship.
Right.
It has a vertical axis. Is it okay? Axis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and many men push this capstan, for instance, to lift I don't know, sails, or to move the vessel or the frigate. So this is what a capstan man was. So back to John's profile. Then he went to be military. He was a private in the 2nd Battalion of the Gordon Highlanders Regiment. And he died 1 year after the war began. When his youngest daughter was just 1 year old.
So she never knew him.
Yeah, and
I mean, to remember.
Yeah. He left his wife with 6 little daughters. He's remembered in a memorial called Les Tourelles. I need your help, Greg.
Yeah, Les Tourelles. Yeah, great.
And he died in France.
Oh, France.
Okay, and we have the memorial Les Tourelles. It commemorates more than 13,000 British soldiers who were killed and who have no known graves. So this is the memorial. It has a page, and you can see some of the people who are commemorated there. There's no bio for John, but we have his memorial here.
Lots of sources too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is his memorial. So thank you for this great example of what a memorial is in WikiTree. So where we can honor these people. He had a short life, a very hard one. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, yes. Sorry, Vicki. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I'm done. So I invite everyone, of course, to join this month's Profile Makeover Challenge.
Yes, please give those profiles. There's so many profiles that could use a dash of love.
That's right.
Yeah, and you can work at your own pace after the Wiki Games last month. This month we can do something really to work relaxed, not thinking about numbers.
Yeah. Now, Ozzy pointed out something when we were looking at that last year profile. It said he was born in Belfast, but the sticker had said Scotland.
I noticed. Yeah, maybe was the only sticker that Elaine found to say that he was living in Scotland, I guess.
Oh, she wanted
Yeah,
to say that he'd been living in Scotland.
Yeah,
yeah.
he lived in Scotland.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
but
so someone should tweak that just
I
to make sure.
agree.
Mhm.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, the profiles of the week. connected
Yes,
with
great,
the-
great. I should probably, this
I
is
was going to
probably
say, are you going to
good
sneak
point.
out or are you going to say goodbye?
Yes, well, yeah, I've got both. I'm going to sneak out since you're about to dive in, and I'm
Exactly.
so sorry I'm going to catch these on the replay, but I have to go off to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
teach.
All right. All right. Bye, everyone.
Fun.
Have a
Bye,
great
Betsy.
weekend.
Great to
See you
see
later,
you.
Betsy.
Yep.
Good stuff. Okay. So, the profiles of the week, connection checkers. And this week, because this week we had, we celebrated, well, not celebrated, we remembered the 9/11 attacks 23 years ago. The theme is we're featuring people who helped to create the iconic skyline of New York City. And so all of the profiles of the week are famous architects who have contributed in one way or another to a building in New York City, as well as buildings all over the world. So these are some pretty amazing things. So the question is, which one of these people are you most closely related to? And if so, have you connected to them and verified each of those steps along the way, and maybe improved some profiles and added some sources to do so? So that's a big question. And you know what? I think the first one is my closest, but let me just double check that quickly. I should check that earlier. Do you know which one's closest for you, Vicki?
Yeah, I checked. My closest is Henry Hardenberg.
Oh,
And I see this week's profiles are really I don't know, a wide variety, very diverse, because my closest is 19 degrees and my most distant is Maya Yingling at 42 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Really diverse.
Wow. But that's interesting though, because our numbers are fairly close, because my closest, well, is Frank Lloyd Wright at 18 degrees, but my second was yours for closest, the Harry Hardenberg, again at 19. So the same distance. We're not very often the same distance from people, the two of us. And my most distant is also Maya Ying Lin, but yours a little bit further away. You're 42, I'm 35 degrees. But you're right. Like, because last week, they were all clustered together, like within 3 or 4 degrees from the top to the bottom. So that is interesting. Well, let's go through and have a peek at what we have. So Daniel Hudson Burnham, distant cousin apparently, 6 cousins, 6 times removed, was born 1846, Henderson, New York. Died 1912, June 1st, at the age of 65 in Heidelberg, Germany. He was an American architect, urban planner, instrumental in the development of the skyscraper, and noted for the design of the Columbian Exposition at the World's Fair in Chicago, interestingly enough. His family lived in Chicago until 1886, and then he purchased a farmhouse in a state on Lake Michigan, because he was a little leery about Chicago, and he thought it was becoming dirtier and more dangerous, so he wanted his family somewhere safer. So moved them out of the city. Took a leading role in creation of master plans for the development of a number of cities, including the Chicago, of course, Cleveland, Manila, and the Philippines, interestingly, San Francisco, and then downtown Washington, D.C. One of his famous buildings is the Flatiron Building, and that one is this triangular building in the middle of New York. Isn't that interesting? Okay.
Yeah.
You'll see it sometimes. You'll see it on you'll see it on TV shows when they're going by, if they're filming in New York, because it stands out. And it's called a flat iron because of its shape. It's very similar to the type of flat irons that people used to use when they're ironing clothes. They put them on the stove, like they're just pure iron, like a triangle. They heat them up on the stove, and then they take them on the ironing board and iron their shirts and stuff. So yeah, that's quite an interesting feat of architecture, doing the whole thing on a triangle. Next, we have David Childs, and his profile image is actually one of the buildings he's most famous for. American architect known for his work on the Freedom Tower at One World Trade Center. This was the monument that was built after 9/11 to replace the two towers. And there is a bit larger picture of it. And then we're going on to Frank Gehry, born as Frank Goldberg, changed their name to Gehry. And he's from the Canadian Project. Yay! Yeah. Born in the 1920s and must still be alive because there's no death date and just gives the generic born in the 1920s label up there for that field. Canadian born. Of course, the bio gives the whole details, so which is funny. Always is amusing to me. The official data fields are private or made more generic for living notables. Yeah. But the bios give you the full date, which I think is interesting. I mean, because a quick peek to Wikipedia and you'll get the full date anyways. So
yeah.
But anyways, born the last day of February 1929, son of Irving Goldberg and Thelma Kaplan. Number of buildings, including his own private residence, and has become well known, including the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao in Spain, which is right there. Wait a second, no. Well, there is another picture of the Guggenheim later on. But he also did the one that he's famous for here is 8 Spruce Street, which is the building in New York City. So like all of these people may have done famous things over the world, but the reason they're included in this list is because of a New York City landmark that they did. And so this is the New York one that he's but Frank Gehry is also, he is Canadian, and one of his most famous Canadian places was the Art Gallery of Ontario, which is right downtown Toronto on Bloor Street, or just off of Bloor. Yeah, no, right on Bloor Street, I believe. And that is what the exterior looks like. It's this massive sort of 2 panes of glass with all this intricate metalwork, and then there's stairs that swirl up in the inside of the building. So it's quite different. And when it was being constructed, not all Torontonians thought that it was a nice piece of work. they didn't quite appreciate it.
It is similar to the Guggenheim
yes.
Museum in Spain.
Yeah, that's right.
And did you know about him, Greg?
I've heard his name before, and I knew that, and I was pretty sure. I didn't know whether it was the ROM or the art gallery that he had done. So yeah, he was familiar to me.
Oh, okay.
Had you heard of him before?
The name was familiar. I guess it was from the Guggenheim.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but I knew it from pictures.
Yeah. And then we have Cass Gilbert, born 1859, Zanesville, Ohio, United States. Passed away on 17th of May, 1934 in Brockenhurst in Hampshire, England. Was among America's foremost architects of the late 19th and early 20th century. He was a son of a Union Civil War general, Samuel Augustus Gilbert, as well as Elizabeth Fulton Wheeler. Studied both in America and in Europe, and designed scores of notable structures, ranging from private residences to the Minnesota state capitol to the New York's Woolworth skyscraper. For years, the Woolworth skyscraper was the tallest building in the world. And there's it looks like a massive building, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? It reminds me. It looks like someone took a church or a cathedral and then just stretched it out to incredible heights.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It reminds me of a castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Henry Janeway Hardenberg, your closest connection.
And your closest.
And my second closest.
Your second closest.
Yeah. So now this is interesting. He was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Like, is that a question? One or the other? Or is that...
Oh.
is New Brunswick, New Jersey? Is New Brunswick a town in New Jersey? Maybe someone in the chat can clear that up for me. Let's go into the edit mode and see what it says. See, there's no comma there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it because I don't know. So I'm just going to go back here. But maybe someone in the chat can let me know whether New Brunswick is a town in New Jersey, even though we know it's a province. Well, I know. It's a province in Canada. But it could be a town, I suppose. Interesting. Yeah. Best known for his hotels and apartment buildings. Born in 1847. And they have a passport application record that verifies that. Student at the Hasbrook Institute. Prep school in Jersey City, completed his architectural training under Detlef Lignau in the Beaux-Arts, trained architect. He was a Beaux-Arts trained architect. One of the most creative and technically architects. That phrase doesn't make sense. He was recognized as being one of the most creative and technically skilled. I think they're missing a word here. Technically skilled architects of the period.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, New Brunswick is a city in the state of New Jersey.
It is a city. Okay, well, let's just change that now. Let's just put that comma in there where it belongs. Boom. There we go. Missing comma. Found. There we go. And now if I click on this map, it should actually open up and show me where New Brunswick, there it is, New Brunswick, sure enough. And if I zoom out, hopefully I'm going to be looking at the state of New Jersey, though I can't tell from this. There's New York, there's Philadelphia, Princeton's New Jersey, so it must be, right? I don't know why I'm not seeing the state lines, but anyways, we digress. There's a nice portrait of our friend, and let's see, he is the building he is most famous. No, besides the Dakota building.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Look at that. There's something. Does it look sort of? Does it have sort of German architecture to it, or there?
Yeah, I see kind of German, Dutch.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, Chris. Yes. This time I'm learning American geography. Last week it was all about American history that I'm learning. Yes.
Yeah.
Who knows what this Canadian will learn next week. Moving on, we come to. Oh, that's interesting. We went straight from your closest match to your furthest match.
Yeah.
Maya Ying
for me.
42, right?
Yeah.
That's wild. 35 for me, and not a cousin, not surprisingly. Born in the 50s, apparently still alive. She's designed the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, and her current focus is on geology and the fragility of the Earth's ecosystem. Her father was Juan Henry Ling, and her mother Minghu Julia Chang. She was an undergraduate at Yale, received national recognition because of her winning design for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Named one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential persons in 2022, just recently. That's very cool. And she received in 2009 the National Medal of Arts, the United States' highest honor for artistic excellence, as well as the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016. Very cool. So, veterans, where we are, the Vietnam veterans. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. It was down here. Let me search for Vietnam Veteran Memorial. Okay, so that's her submission. That was her submission for the building, and then that's what it looks like from the outside.
Wow.
Wall. Very cool.
Wow.
And she also was part of designing the Africa Center too, I believe, Museum for African Art. Moving on to Frederick Law Olmsted. And there's a note right at the top of his. So he was born in 1822 in Hartford, Connecticut, passed away in 1903 in Brooklyn, Massachusetts. Right at the very top, any reference to Frederick Law Olmsted using the surname with the added A is incorrect. So if you look at his last name, Olmsted, many people would, if you just said the name out loud, you'd spell it with an EAD at the end. But apparently they're very clear that he does not have an A in his name. So much so that it's the very first thing you read.
In red.
In red, yes. Warning. I'm surprised it's not flashing. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Landscape architect, journalist, social critic, and public administrator. Popularly considered to be the father of American landscape architecture. And the reason why it's landscape architecture is because instead, what is one of his best known works, not a building, but a massive expanse place, the Central Park, New York City. And you can see that because that is the background here. Now, if I do this, there we go. If I make it, if I zoom out, then you can see the the background picture better.
Yeah.
Yeah, Central Park.
It's quite a landscape.
Yeah. Now, have you ever visited New York City, Vicki?
No, but I have to.
Yeah.
Someday
I visited it once. I was actually there for a conference, and it was in the summer, so I took my family. So my wife and our 3 kids went for a walk through Central Park one day, but I was stuck in a building downtown, listening to someone go on and on. And I never got to go.
And you left after that?
Well, we were already there. Yeah, basically. I don't think we did a little bit of sightseeing. We did go across. We did see the Statue of Liberty. We saw the Irish statue or memorial at the water's edge there, but I never got up to Central Park. It was a bit of a trek, so it was a day trek to get there and stuff. So we will. My wife and I have to go back at some point where I can see some of that. And what was exciting is they went to the store that had the giant piano keyboard, in the movie Big. You could jump on it and play. And,
the Tom Hanks.
My son, who's the musician, well, they all are musicians, but he was a piano player, serious piano player, so he really enjoyed that. Anyways, we digress again. Moving on, I.M. Pei, or Io, I'm not sure how you pronounce his first name, Io Ning Pei, but known as I.M. Pei most often. Born in Suzhou, China in 1917, 26th of April. Just passed away a few years ago, 2019, 16th of May, at the age of 102. Wow. That's amazing. Almost as old as the person you mentioned in your profile, the youngest daughter. Yeah.
103?
She was 103. Yeah. Wow. So 102. Way to go. He died in New York City. Famed architect, Chinese American architect known for his creative use of modernistic architecture in combination with natural elements and open spaces. Designed some of the world's most recognizable buildings in countries around the world. So there's an actual Wikipedia page that lists all of his projects. So there's a whole pile of them there. And let's see which one. So the one that I think is cool is the one that I knew him first for is the Louvre, because he designed the triangle outside.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And I was going to say that his art is really geometric.
Yes, So it's like he was a math teacher in a former life. And look at the Louvre. You look at the Louvre, and then you look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's definitely some similarities there, right? And let's see, what is the connection for the Kips Bay Towers? Is the place in the Kips Bay? There it is, Kips Bay Plaza. So this is the building in New York City I've got him on the list here. I wonder if he has other New York. There's another one in New York. Oh, that's Syracuse, New York. University Village in New York. State University of New York. Oh, I guess it's a plan. So there's not a Everson. Yeah, so he's done lots. So that's kind of neat. Like when they have a whole page, dedicated to someone's work. That's pretty cool. Moving on to Johann Augustus Roebling, who was born in Mulhausen, Königreich Preußen, Heiliges Römisches Reich, Deutscher Nation.
Oh, come on, Greg. You always do perfect.
No, it's just I've studied German on Duolingo, so I've got a little bit of, I can pronounce a few things. I don't know if I can carry on a conversation, but anyways, in 1806 he was born, and then died in 1869 in Brooklyn Heights in New York City. Came over to the U.S. He worked for 3 years with the Prussian government, building roads, and then returned to Mulhausen to organize a party of pilgrims to leave for America. So he and his brother Carl left in 1831 for America, and he was only 24. So he's got a very interesting story. So what he's known for is the Brooklyn Bridge, and there's a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge right there. So you can zoom in and see that. Okay, so there's the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, the original,
Like
1892, it says.
Yeah. Where is it? Where'd it go? 1892. Yeah. 1892.
Like a postcard, right?
Like it is. Yeah. So he was the original designer, but he did not live to see it completed because, and this is very interesting. He died before that. He had an accident. He was out surveying the bridge, and then he was rammed by a ferry. Someone driving a ferry. He was like on the shore or whatever, looking up the bridge, doing it, and they rammed right into him on purpose. They didn't even slow down. They intentionally targeted him because they knew he was planning this bridge. And so the ferry boats, of course, their livelihood was taking people from one shore to the other. And once a bridge connected the two shores, then they would not be they wouldn't be needed as much. So he was intentionally targeted for that. And then, which is even sadder, like he was, he would be a wealthy man. He did not, this is a massively huge and detailed profile. But so let me just cut to the chase. He didn't take antibiotics. He could have afforded the best doctors, but he insisted on what he called a water treatment. So he just kept pouring water constantly on his leg, thinking that would flush out any infection and keep it safe. But it did not. It got infected. And 3 weeks after the accident, he died.
So he didn't die from the accident itself.
Well,
right away.
if it hadn't been for the accident, he wouldn't have got the infection and would have died. So, but he didn't die instantly because of the accident. But that was the inciting incident. So his
little thing called science. Jordan.
Yeah, a little thing called science would have been helpful there. Yeah. So he refused to have his injury properly treated. He thought the water therapy was going to do it. So his son, Washington Augustus Roebling, took over the bridge, and he sort of helped see it through. Except that it wasn't really his son who did all of the work. It was his son's wife, because his son was sickly. He suffered from the bends, and so he was bedridden most of the time. So he did what he could from his bedroom, in terms of some of the developments. But his wife was basically the one who actually got the work done and did the real work to complete the bridge, going out and meeting people and stuff. Wow. So it's a very interesting story. So really, Emily should be a featured profile.
Yeah, Emily's the architect.
Not just the architect. So that's a wild day. Then we have Stanford White, second last profile. Stanny White, born in 1853 in New York City, died 25th of June, 1906, only at the age of 52, which you might think, that's rather young. He died of natural causes. Yeah, well, there's a reason. It wasn't natural. So he was a well-known architect of New York City, designed many buildings, including the Madison Square, which is Madison Square Gardens, which you can see in the background here. If I zoom out, you can see.
Yeah, that picture looks great with the WikiTree colors, right?
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yes. Yeah. Nice sort of greenish orange to it. Yeah. So there's Madison Square Gardens, one of the buildings he created. So he was a well-known architect, but he also was a bit of a philanderer and liked ladies, and sometimes ladies who were a bit young. And anyways, one of the people he had an affair with was married to, or got married to, another millionaire. And the millionaire took exception, and he actually, Stanford White was murdered because the new husband was in a rage and shot him to death on the roof of Madison Square Gardens, one of the buildings he designed.
Oh.
So he designed the place where he was murdered.
That's poetic.
Yes. Anyways, not only did he die, his reputation was a bit stained after that as well, too.
Of course.
Came out some of the things he had done. So, yeah. And then the final profile is Frank Lloyd Wright, a name who I think, well, for me, I think he's one of the most, I think he's probably the most popular or most famous of them all. Maybe not. But born 1867, 8th of June, just 3 weeks shy of Canada's birthday, July 1st, 1867. But he was born in Wisconsin, Richland Center, Wisconsin, and died the 9th of April, 1959, at the good age of 91 in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, American architect, interior designer, writer, educator, designed more than 1,000 structures. Like, this guy was busy. Wow. So he designed 1,000 and he completed 532 of those works. He also has a Wikipedia page which has just lists all his places that he's done and stuff. So
so he built like 10 every year or so.
Yeah. Yeah, really. It was crazy. Yeah, the number of ones he did. So he had 3 wives. 2 of them gave him children. 6 children from the first wife, none from the second, and then 2 from the third one. And then I believe he adopted a child from his third wife as well. Mm-hmm. Designed office buildings, hotels, museums, and as well as dwellings, residences for the rich and the poor, all across. There's a Canadian TV show called The Murdoch Mysteries. I don't know if you're familiar with it. If you've heard of it.
I've heard of that.
So interestingly enough, Murdoch and his wife, they move out of downtown Toronto, and they have a house built for them. And in the TV show, the house was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. Which is, the show takes place around the turn of the century, around 1900, 1910, which is right along the time when he was, starting out. So it is.
But it's just fictional?
What's that?
It's just fiction?
It is fiction. Well, it's based, it's interesting. They bring in like real characters, like Thomas Edison showed in one of the episodes, and different things. But the actual detective, it's a fiction show. The actual detective isn't real.
Hey, they all know the show. I know the show. John Tyner loves the show. Amanda watched it last night. Tesla was a character in one of the episodes. Yeah, it's a fun show. But it's cool because there's a connection, because in the show, the fictional house where he lives, it'd be curious if the house they filmed
before the show was an actual building designed by
Okay,
Frank
maybe
Lloyd Wright.
it is.
That would be
Hey,
wild.
everyone knows the show. I have to watch it.
It's a great show. Well, I think it was, I mean, I don't know if it's all still, it was co-produced at one point with the BBC and CBC of Canada. So it could be syndicated around the world, I suppose. You should look for it in Chile.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's on Hulu, apparently, says Mohamed.
Okay.
Anyways, so he's got so many that he's famous for. And let's see, the one, the Guggenheim Museum, he was also part of designing that one. So if we have a look, see, we can find Guggenheim. There we are. In New York City.
Oh, the one in New York.
One in New York. Oh, right, because the other guy was, it was the Guggenheim
in Spain.
In Spain. So there's two Guggenheims. Who knew? There we go. And let's see, anything in Toronto? Let's check. No, nothing in Toronto.
Oh, in Canada?
Oh, there's an design
oh,
someone's
no.
cottage, but they didn't put the cottage down. Oh man. Okay, Banff National Park Pavilion. Look at that. Okay, there's the Canadian content for Frank Lloyd Wright. Anyways,
not his best work. I guess.
Not his best work, no. Okay, so those are the profiles of the week.
That was fun.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, we should let you know what else is happening. Lots of things are happening this month. Of course, we'll have a question of the week. Oh no, that's last week.
Yeah.
Let's zoom down to today's the 14th, correct? Okay, so we're at the roundup. Of course, there's a Saturday sprint and a weekend chat going on as we speak. The Alabama Challenge starts at noon. So in 45 minutes, the Alabama Challenge, join people on Zoom for that. Just click on, go to your help, go to the forum, click on what's happening, and you'll get to this page here, and you can click on that Zoom link right there, and you can join the Alabama Challenge. There's a global spotlight in 2 days hence. There'll be a new question of the week, 52 ancestors, data doctors, connection challenge, another watch list Weevil challenge. I have to pronounce that. Get my W's out. And then again, we start all over again another week. A few things. The Source-a-thon is coming up. So that's their big fall event. And it happens on the first weekend of October. But register now. And you can sign up. All you have to do to register is pick the team you want to join and then scroll down to find the answer that has that team at the beginning of it. So if you wanted to join Appalachia Roots, then you're here. If you want to join, I don't know, let's say the Germany Genies, then
the Globetrotters.
Yeah, just go to find the route, hit the comment button, and then you add your name. Now, one thing that's different about the Source-a-thon from the Connect-a-thons is you actually get a bib, just like as if you're doing a race. And everyone gets a unique bib number. And so,
did you get your favorite number?
I don't think I did.
I think last year you managed to get your.
Did I get my favorite number? I'm trying to think if I wonder, did I officially register? I'm helping Azure and Betsy out with the registration, and I'm tracking all those who are.
You're not sure if you did?
But I don't know if I registered myself yet. I better do that. But you know what? That's the weekend I'm away in Baltimore, so I'll be doing very little sourcing, I'm afraid.
Oh, and that's the weekend that I will meet Roberta from South Africa.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe we'll source something from Chile.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And you know what my bib is? It
What's
is
that?
115. 115.
Oh, yes.
And that is just like
115.
WikiTree Day.
Oh, yes. 115. 11-5. There we go. Very nice. Yeah. That's good. So when you get your bib, you can click on this link to the sandbox, and that'll take you to details about how to add your bib to your profile. So you can show it in your profile there. What else is happening? this coming week, we'll begin the next WikiTree challenge. The WikiTree challenge for September is for the video blogger, Genealogy, Jarrett Ross. So if you watch his videos on YouTube, he's quite a good guy and interesting. And so we're going to try and expand his CC7. So we're still accepting people who want to help out with that. So please do, because we can use some more help. And through the month of October, if you are a programmer and you'd like to help us out with Hacktoberfest, designing new tree apps, or adding things to the WikiTree browser extension, maybe doing something with the Maps API, or if you'd like to help us out by being a tester, because we need people to test all these things and kick the tires and make sure they work and try different things that we don't think of, because why would you do that? It's not programmed that way. When people say there's a bug in your program, I say, well, don't use it that way. you're using it wrong. But no.
Yeah.
And then there's the socials. Here we are. Global Spotlight is, it doesn't say what the place is, but the one name studies this week will be Muir. Muir name study, look at that.
Is that a German name?
What's that?
Is that a German name? I'm not sure.
I'm wondering. Let's just have a boo. Let's see.
Oh.
Muir and Moore are names derived from an occupation, in this case, a tradesman, and it is from a Middle High German word, which translates as one who builds with stone. Good work. So there's a Heinrich Muir, who is residing in Werningen. Werner der Muir was the Mengen. Then there's Konrad der Muir, was a judge from Herrenberg. Barbara Muir was from Schwarzbach, Chemnitz. There we go. Dusseldorf. Yeah, I think you're on the right track. And the one place studies will be Dowelltown, Tennessee. And Thursday, the event to profile will be the Sorthon. And the Hollywood Walk will be the Hall of Fame. There we go. And then we're back to another roundup next Saturday. So there we go. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, a lot. Really fun.
Yeah. And, so I don't know if the people from South Carolina and Megs are still watching us, but hello. Hope you're having a great workshop down there, and a good day. And everyone who's joined us live or are watching us after the fact. And
we hope we have Max back next week.
We're really hoping, yes. We're missing our Megs, so hopefully she'll be back shortly too. Yeah, good. Well, you have a great day as well, Vicki.
You too. Nice weekend for everyone.
It is. Yes, it's nice and sunny out here in Ontario, Canada. So
yeah, here too.
Here too. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.